There are 9 different types of tracks in CUBASE. Let's find out how to add some. You might notice there is a button at the top of the window below the menu called Show Inspector. Let's toggle this on and off. If you don't have this button, you may need to see the video on customizing CUBASE. If you don't have this button, you may need to see the video on customizing CUBASE because you'll need to show something called View Switches. It's important to show you this because there are 2 empty gray windows here. One is for the inspector, which you'll see in a second, and the other is where the tracks go. Right-click on the second window and choose Add MIDI Track. For Mac users with one button, you can use the Control key to simulate the right-click. You can see that the tracks appear here, and the information for the track appears over here. This is known as the inspector. Now let's add an audio track. Choose Project, Add Track, Audio. You get a choice whether the track can be mono, stereo, or multi-channel. Let's just choose stereo. Let's add a marker track and move it up to the top. Here we can add markers with the draw tool and jump to them easily by pressing their corresponding numbers on the transport bar. Now add a folder track. You can place tracks in the folder by clicking on the track and dragging it in. And then you can close up the folder. This is useful when you have a lot of tracks and want to save some space. You can keep the drums all together in one folder, the guitars in another folder, etc. We can add a ruler track, which allows us to see your timeline in a variety of formats. Add another one and move them around. Have one show seconds by clicking here, and the other show time code. You can even put them all at the top if you like. That should give you a quick introduction on how to handle tracks. Now let's look at the transport panel in CUBASE. The transport panel can be selected from the transport menu if you can't see it. The key command for it is F2. There are familiar controls here such as rewind, fast forward, loop or cycle, stop, start, and record. If you like a click when you record or play back, you can turn it on or off here. Here's a little tip. If you want one tempo for the whole entire project, you can turn off the tempo track and punch in your own desired tempo here. When the tempo track in CUBASE is on, CUBASE reads tempo changes from the tempo track, found under the project menu. We're going to keep this off and have a fixed tempo of 110 beats per minute. You can select your markers here, show the MIDI in and MIDI out activity, and even see your audio in and audio out activity. Something really handy here is a master fader for your volume output. On the other side we have real-time jog and shuttle dials, some advanced functions for recording, and you can select whether automatic quantize for your MIDI will be turned on or off here. This section lets you numerically set in your locators and turn on the punch in and punch out buttons. If you're not sure what locators are these. If you want to create a small loop from bar 2 to 3, you can draw it in right here. You can see we have our left locator on bar 2 and our right locator on bar 3. This is verified by seeing it numerically here. If you set your cycle button to on and then press the play button, you can then use your locators to loop a section over and over. If for any reason your transport bar doesn't look exactly like mine, make sure you see the video on customization.